What's up, people? I'm Shaggy the Opinionated Hippie, and this is my dissection and interpretation and analysis of Apple Music's top 100 albums of all time list. They dropped that a couple of weeks ago. Everybody's talking about it as they knew they would. I'm sure that's why they dropped it. But yeah, I'm going to talk about it because why not? I love lists. I love dissecting them. I love finding inspiration in them. So I'm going to do them in groups of 10. I already did 100 through 91. This is 90 through 81. I'm approaching this as if I'm an editor on the Apple Music editorial board. I've been submitted this list with 4 other people, and I have the ability to remove and replace 20 albums, up to 20 albums. I have the ability to keep an artist but replace the album picked. I've seen the list. I'm kind of familiar with it. I haven't revisited it since I started this series. I'm not going to. Things will be revealed as I go on. And I'm pretty sure most artists are only on here once. So I'm going to assume that, and then sometimes maybe say, hey, not this album, but I'm going to keep the artist, but put a different album on there. And I can move anywhere I want. Those are my limitations, just to make it a little more interesting for myself. Otherwise, I'm just making my own list. So yeah. 90 through 81, put the list on the screen at the end, and I'll kind of show you where I'm at. I removed 5 in the first 10. So I only have 15 that I can remove left. I didn't replace any albums. I am moving stuff around. So yeah, let's get on with it. 90, AC/DC's Back in Black. This has to be off the list. Solid album, maybe a great album. I don't think it's AC/DC sounding like AC/DC. I think Hell's Bells, the opening track, is one of their greatest songs ever. They did an absolutely fantastic job once Bon Scott passed away of replacing him with Brian Johnson. I think both versions of them are fantastic. Bon Scott was truly a one-of-a-kind, but they managed to find an energy and a persona and a charisma in Brian Johnson that is worthy. I've seen AC/DC live, didn't see him live with Bon Scott, but saw him live with Brian Johnson a number of times, and it was always a good show. So, but a top 100 album? Nah. Maybe a top 200? Maybe. I mean, there are a lot of hits on here. It is their sound definitively, but there's too many good hard rock albums. In fact, there are hard rock bands not on this list that I think deserve to be on this list before AC/DC does. So, bye AC/DC. You're my number 6. I'm kicking off. 89 is Lady Gaga's The Fame Monster. I would have put The Fame on here. I think her debut album, I think The Fame is her debut album, right? I think that's a better album than this one. I think it's just a little more consistent from start to finish, but I guess it's okay. I think Lady Gaga kind of has to be on this list. Lady Gaga's kind of pretty important. I did mention in a comment on the last one, I'm trying to like only focus on the music and divorce this list from like the extracurriculars and like the impact of an album. But I do think both of these albums are pretty good pop albums and pretty fun listens. I just think The Fame is a little better, but I'm not going to use one of my 5 and replace it. I'll keep The Fame Monster on here. And this might slide back into the 90s as I add albums, but for now, I think I'll keep it at 89. Number 88 is Nina Simone's I Put a Spell on You. 100% keeping Nina Simone on this album. 100% replacing this album. This is a good album. It's a great album. She's got better albums. I think she's got some much better albums. Maybe the song selections on those other albums maybe aren't as mainstream as like I Put a Spell on You, and there are some really fun tracks on I Put a Spell on You. That one about the wedding, I think, is absolutely fantastic. Whatever that's called, I always forget the name of it. But yeah, Nina Simone needs to be on this list. Just cause. I mean, not just because of who she is, but because she has albums that are amazing. Not going to tell you which album I'm going to put on this list. That will come later. And she might move up the list. Probably. But for now, I think 88, she can stay here. But we're taking I Put a Spell on You off, even though it is a fantastic album. And we're putting another probably earlier released album on this list. Massive Attack, Blue Lines. Yeah, 100% staying. The grooves, the bass playing, everything about this, right? This is like an early version of trip hop. Absolutely fantastic album. This is just it is an absolutely amazing listen. It's, yeah, I mean, it's their debut album. Realizing a lot of these artists, it's their debut album that's kind of on here that's sort of like setting the bar for these, or the ones that are making the list. So meaning the rest of their career is, arguably downhill from there. But this is another just, when did this come out? 91, just an absolutely awesome, yeah, like the first trip hop album. Just a great listen, great groove, some great bass playing, it's an absolute winner from start to finish. Keeping it at 87 for now, because there's a lot of really, really great albums, but this is like pretty close to a perfect album, especially if you're like a trip hop fan and you like sort of like, like dancey music with hip hop elements thrown in there. And yeah, really good. But keeping it on the list for now. 87, Massive Attack. 86 is Mary J. Blige. I would have put What's the 411 on here. I actually think her debut album is much better than this one, even though this is the one I think that generally gets all the love and all the praise. This is a great album, but I do think that first one is just a little bit, another one, a debut album, just like going to put it all out there. This is what I do. Don't have to like try to duplicate or copy anything on any later albums. I'm going to try this formula and it's going to work. But I'm not going to replace it because I do think this is a strong enough album to maybe warrant being on here. Might fall down towards the 90s as we go on, just because for my own personal list, I'm not the biggest R&B fan. I like some albums. I don't listen to them as much as I listen to other stuff. But I can't take it off because my wife would hurt me. And I think she would also agree that What's the 411 deserves to be on here instead of this one, but we'll keep it on here. Number 85 is Casey Musgrave's Golden Hour. I love this album. This was sort of my go-to chill out album the year it came out, which was like 5-6 years ago. I love the slower songs on here, that opening Slow Burn, that song Mother, which is about, apparently she ate some rather delicious mushrooms and was sitting on her back porch out in the country and started to see colors and wrote this song. And you can feel the sort of like mushroom essence in the song, a short little minute and a half like piano thing. Beautiful lyrics. I love the song Space Cowboy. Just what I love about country music is like just the clever wordplay sometimes. But a top 100 album? Nah, I can't put this in the top 100. I think Casey Musgraves is one of those artists I mentioned in the previous video, like Lorde, who I think has a top 100 album in her. Like I think Casey Musgraves, I think, went through a divorce after Golden Hour, like during the tour for this. And I was kind of hoping that her follow-up album would be that sort of her version of Blood on the Tracks or Rumors, or just that heartbreak-drenched sort of country album. It wasn't quite that. It was good. I don't think it was as good as Golden Hour, but I think she's got something deep in her if she ends up in that kind of place. But for now, I don't think Golden Hour is strong enough to stay on this list. Yeah, we got an 84, Doggy Style, Snoop Dogg. Yeah, I have to say this. I mean, just because it's Snoop Dogg, I'm definitely keeping it, but shouldn't it be higher? I mean, just cause, higher. Maybe it's at 84, which I find, I was going to say that maybe it should be up at 42 for reasons, if you want to expand the numbers. And being that it's at 84, which is 42 doubled, I'm like, that's a sign. One of my all-time favorite rap hip-hop albums. I love it. Yeah, lyrics haven't all aged well. They probably didn't even age well at the time. But the West Coast music, the grooves, the sounds, Snoop Dogg's flow, his cadence, the sound of his voice, everything about this album is fantastic. I've seen a lot of concerts in my life, seen a lot of New Year shows. Wasn't a New Year show, but I saw Snoop Dogg play in Austin about, I don't know, like 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And it was, might have been the 30th of December. It wasn't New Year's, but it felt like a New Year's show. And it was just like, he was like the MC of a party. And I don't mean like MC, hip hop MC, but he was like bringing Nate Dogg out and bringing these background singers to do songs. And there were like 40 people on the stage at one point. Snoop Dogg would disappear all the time. Yeah, I love some Snoop Dogg. I love this album. It's 100% staying on this list. And yeah, it should probably be higher. Number 83, Patti Smith's Horses. 100% keeping this. 100% moving it higher. This is still kind of a one-of-a-kind album, I think, as far as at least both intent and execution and results. It's melding sort of beat poetry with slam poetry, which wouldn't come around for another 10, 15 years after it was recorded. It's got sort of this loose improv jazzy feel, but at the same time, it's got this minimalist, loose improv Velvet Underground feel. It feels like it's taken from all these different sources. It feels like it's got some Jim Morrison being channeled in there. Some of the songs feel like it's like some Astro Weeks Van Morrison channeled in there. Her cover of Gloria, if it's a cover, I don't know what it is, an interpolation of Gloria, visit of Gloria is just, I think, one of the coolest things. If like, you know the Gloria, Gloria, and then you listen to her song, and then 5 minutes in, she finally, maybe 3.5, 4 minutes in, she finally gets to the Gloria part. You're like, wait a minute, that's Gloria. It's a fantastic song. It's album. It's fantastically sequenced. Got a couple longer tracks, which are really, really, really just sort of poetically indulgent, with some shorter, more effective songs that also have just some great lyrics. This is such a unique album. I think it definitely deserves to be higher than 83. I'm going to put it higher than 83 on my final list, but I'm definitely keeping it. Number 82 is 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Trying. This is staying on my list. Another one of my all-time favorite hip-hop albums. I understand that I've seen other people like say this should not be on this list, or I've read articles about how this one, like, it made 50 Cent. It brought 50 to the people. But it's maybe not that strong of an album. But from start to finish, it's a fantastic listen. Are there weak tracks? Maybe a couple. But like everything about this is just really solid beats. And then you have these awesome beats with either like this nice keyboard synth part, maybe some piano, maybe some unnecessary steel drums and PIMP, which we don't need, but who cares? Having Eminem early and then late almost feels like the album's like some kind of journey. And for some reason, Eminem's like a gatekeeper. But there's a nice like balance to the album. Yeah, it's just a really fun, really, really good album. And yeah, there might be better hip-hop albums on here. And this maybe might be like a top 100 hip-hop album, but maybe not a top 100 album of all time. But I'm not using one of mine to take it off the list, because I think this is an absolutely fantastic album. And yeah, it's fun. It's great to listen to. From start to finish, like the last track, Gotta Make It to Heaven, is a great listen. Everything in between is fun. I'm not taking this off my list. I'm not touching it. I understand why people want to remove it, but this is my list. This is my version of this. It's staying on. And then number 81, Neil Young's After the Gold Rush. I'm keeping Neil Young. I'm replacing the album. So that's now 2 of my 5 in which I'm replacing the album. But I'm imagining that like the discussion in Apple Music, and maybe I'm giving them less credit than they deserve, was like, hey, let's put Harvest on here. And somebody was like, no, that's too obvious. And someone was like, then let's put After the Gold Rush. After the Gold Rush is a great album, but I think he's got maybe 4, arguably 5 albums, which just, as an album, I just feel, I think are more cohesive musical statements. And like in which, I would say even song for song, they're better albums than this one, but in which the like Forest for the Trees type thing, in which the sum really is greater than the parts. I think he's got better albums and I don't think he's on this list again. If he is on this list again, I'm still going to replace this because he is, I would say, at least 4 better than this one that are the top 100 albums of all time. So yeah, that's it. Neil Young, he stays on, the album's off. But that's what they look like right there. 2 more removing, which means I've now removed 7 of my 20. I've replaced 2. The Nina Simone and Neil Young are going to stay on, but those albums are replacing. Everything else I'm keeping. Might take some of these off later. We'll see what else. If I end up liking everything else on this list, I won't. Yeah. And there's what the entire thing looks like now. Those are all the ones that are left on my list after the first 20. So I have removed 7. So we're left with 13 so far. But yeah, that's what I got. Anyways, and if you notice, I moved 50 Cent back to 93. I'm gonna bump it back. I'm gonna acknowledge the fact that other people went it off. But yeah, anyways, that's all I got for this 10. Let me know your thoughts on this. Let me know what you would keep on, what you would take off, all those kind of things. Just realized this shirt is kind of dirty on this corner. But anyways, thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share, comment, do all those things. And yeah, enjoy music, people. It is the best. Peace. Talk to you later.